Yamcha was used wrong in Dragon Ball Z. Well, maybe it's more accurate to say he didn't live up to his full potential. Let's look at this.
行くぞ。
Yamcha has actually received a fair amount of spotlight and good moments throughout the Dragon Ball franchise. However, the handling of his character has taken away the potential for emotional appeal that a character like Yamcha should have. These problems didn't start in Dragon Ball Z though, they started in the original. So let's go back.
She's gorgeous.
Yamcha is introduced as a comical character, which makes sense given the tone of OG Dragon Ball at this point in time. This is before things got more serious. While Dragon Balls are normally used now to change the fate of the universe, at this point in time, 16-year-old Yamcha was just a bandit in the desert who, innocently enough, wanted to use this one wish that could grant anything in the galaxy to get over his phobia of women so that he could get married. How could you hate Yamcha, man? He's such a good guy. Now, I mention this because this is important to the picture I want to paint. Yamcha has always been presented as a great human being, just pure as can be. And for some reason, this is something that wasn't emphasized as much as it should have been. Yamcha has a unique design, prominent character traits, and his role is very clear in the story. You're supposed to laugh at his funny moments. You're supposed to cry at his sad moments because he's a good person who brings about good emotion on us, and when bad things happen to him, we should feel bad and the story should reflect that. And while a few of these sad moments have worked and have connected with Yamcha, most of them either haven't hit as hard as they should have, or they have been memed into absolute oblivion. And I would say that started by not giving him a proper backstory in Dragon Ball. Yamcha is just introduced as a funny bandit in the desert who takes advantage of Goku being hungry in this situation. And he's not given more depth in that. I'm okay with how he was introduced, but following the introduction, you need to give me some backstory on why this character is here. Where are his parents? Where are his loved ones? Why is he in this position? These are the things that attach me to this character. We have our first impression, which is the cover of the book, and then when you open it, you should find all of those things that got him to this place. You can't just introduce him and then never make him a deeper character than that. The attempt that Akira Toriyama had at making us care about him in an emotional way was by linking him with Bulma and relying on his relationship there. But having no backstory to him made it so that his worth was tied to Bulma's. He didn't stand on his own 2 feet, and that right there is the problem. An emotional scene landing or connecting with the heart of an audience is only possible if you have characters that the audience cares about. This is what separates One Piece from so many other anime out there.
お前に優しくされる覚えはねえぞ。なんでだよ。なんでだよ。
お前が俺と同じ夢を持ってたからだ。
One Piece knows how to make you feel for a character. They know how to connect you to a story, and they're not afraid to take the time to do that. Even though there's so many comical moments that happen in One Piece, they don't allow that to compromise the emotion you feel for a character. Because in the same way that investing in that emotion makes the emotional scene hit for sadness, it also makes that emotional scene hit for comedy. This is why people love Krillin so much, because the time was invested in him to make you feel an emotional connection to him. That time was not invested in a character like Yamcha, who can be used in a similar sense, but simply doesn't connect on the same level that Krillin does. Another character I want to compare to Yamcha here is Sanji. Sanji is used in a very similar way that Yamcha is in Dragon Ball. They're both introduced in this somewhat debonair fashion, and they're both revealed to have this weakness to women. However, Sanji separates himself from Yamcha in that Sanji is given multiple episodes of backstory to show us who this character is, why this character is at where he's at, and what he's been through. We're shown Sanji's story and why we should care about him, and this is something that One Piece has done for each of its main characters in its main cast. This is what's missing from Yamcha, and as far as I can tell, it was the first issue to flare with Yamcha.
Oh no! Did I hurt you, Bulma? Oh, let me see.
Yeah, a little, but it's okay. I feel fine now. You saved my life, remember?
Yamcha and Bulma's relationship was actually pretty cute. They would fill each other's cup, feed off of one another, inspire funny moments, and it also gave Yamcha a reason to still be around the main cast and train. He now had someone to protect. And Bulma, who loved traveling, going around, and Goku, would force him into situations where he'd have to go into battle. Not everybody is a Saiyan or like Goku and just wants to fight all the time, so giving a good guy like Yamcha a reason to fight and a reason to train and a reason to be on screen was pretty clever, pretty sweet, and not something we get a lot of in the Dragon Ball franchise. It would also add stakes to moments involving either Yamcha or Bulma, Yamcha needing it more being that he didn't have a backstory, but things like when he fought Tien and got his leg broken, Bulma is in the crowd and has to watch that. Bulma helps him when he has to be on his crutches. These emotional stakes and these emotional tugs on your heart make it so that you care about these scenes and the story and the plot without the world or the fate of the universe having to be on the line. We care about what's happening because we care about the character. It can be frustrating to go back to OG Dragon Ball or even early Dragon Ball Z and see how these characters had purpose, had lives, had meaning, just to see them dwindled and fizzed out by the end of Z and for all of Super, pretty much. Now I do want to highlight that Bulma did bring out the best in Yamcha. Yamcha was the most active and the most involved in the story when he was with Bulma, and this carried out through the vast majority of Dragon Ball and even through some of early Z, which gave us one of the more emotional moments in the series that I don't hear talked about for some reason.
Yamcha. Would you mind closing your eyes for a second?
Is she really gonna kiss me?
You are so dead!
I know I let you down. I'm sorry.
Don't say that. You didn't let anyone down. You did your best. Everybody knows that.
I'm really anxious to show these guys what we're all about down here on this planet.
Akira Toriyama spoke multiple times about how he felt a need to push the envelope and make characters more and more powerful, villains more and more powerful, Goku break through ceiling after ceiling. And he felt as though if he didn't do that, fans wouldn't care about the story, they would lose interest, and his manga would fail. I really don't think that's the truth though. I think that even if Frieza had been a fraction of how powerful he was, that fans would have cared. Because we cared about Namek and we were on Namek because of all that happened during the Sand Saga. And we care about those characters that we lost. Scenes like this, moments like this, interactions like this are what invested us into the story. I don't know anybody that cared deeply about moments in Dragon Ball Z only because of how powerful, because the solar system was at stake. They cared about the characters that were having those moments, and they just so happened to be in these astronomically powerful cases. But that wasn't a need. Dragon Ball needs to focus more on things like this. And the opportunities for this are more numerous than people realize. In OG Dragon Ball, Yamcha and Tien had a pretty dope dynamic. The beans were planted, but they were never harvested, unfortunately. For those of you who don't know, in the 22nd World Martial Arts Tournament in OG Dragon Ball, Tien was the main villain at this point in time. In one of the rounds before he faced Goku in the finale, he faced Yamcha. Yamcha is a guy we're rooting for. He kind of acts as a measuring stick here to show how powerful Tien is. But they have a pretty fun fight, filled with some trash talk, some good banter, emotional moments with Bulma being in the crowd, and it ends with Tien winning, and then Tien unnecessarily breaking the leg of Yamcha right in front of Bulma and the whole crowd. This moment led to an emotional response from Goku and Bulma and served as a big motivator for us to hate Tien and to support Goku going into this match. However, this also led to a moment between Tien and Yamcha after the tournament. And look at how it's conducted.
You fought well. Really.
Thank you. Sorry about your leg. I did a lot of terrible things.
No big deal. Bones heal just like everything else. But at the next tournament, I expect a rematch. Got it?
Of course.
I love this scene because not only does it show the character of Yamcha to just forgive someone like that, especially after Tien hadn't done anything to repay that to him, but it also seemingly sets up a rematch in the future, and even a possible bromance in the future. It just seemed to be a seed or a bean that was planted and just never harvested for some reason. At the next tournament, they don't have a rematch. Not only do they not have a rematch, but this relationship and this moment just aren't cultivated at all. Things progress as if this never happened, and I don't understand why. These are the moments that would make Dragon Ball just deeper and better and make you more invested in characters. You don't have to make it so that Yamcha can compete with a Super Saiyan 2. You just have to make it so that we care about Yamcha and that we care about people other than Goku. That is when the story is at its best. If you ask me, the Saiyan saga followed by the Namek saga was Dragon Ball Z at its best. And things like this are why. And when Goku came into the picture, it was riding off of the wave of everybody else's story that had been told. Goku came in as the finisher, as the finale, as the main attraction. And everything prior to that main event, that main attraction, everything prior to it belonged to everyone else. This is why everybody fell in love with Vegeta in the Namek saga. This is why people fell in love with the relationship between Piccolo and Gohan during the Saiyan saga. And if Dragon Ball had played their cards right, Yamcha could have been a big factor during that time as well, even bigger than what he already was. Imagine if Tien blew up and fought against Nappa for Yamcha. I'm sorry, but Chaozu sucks. He's never evoked emotion like that. Like, yes, he had a cool fight in Dragon Ball against Krillin, but Chaozu he's not really even looked at as a character, and he's often forgot about. So imagine if you had built up that connection between Tien and Yamcha, and you see a contrast from Tien back when he assaulted Yamcha while he was unconscious, to Tien fighting for Yamcha's honor. That's just one idea. Of course, you could play things out in different ways, but I believe that relationship is something that could have been bigger and something that we could have gotten some reward out of. And I feel similarly about Yamcha's relationship with Bulma. Now, we got a lot more mileage out of Yamcha and Bulma than we did out of Yamcha and Tien, but the fact that Bulma moved so easily onto Vegeta without any resistance from Yamcha or any scenes addressing that is really perplexing to me. It honestly just feels like a cop-out. It feels as though there was no story for Yamcha, and yet there had to be story for Bulma because of her popularity. And so you just attached Bulma to Vegeta and found ways to work with that, and forgot about Yamcha, pushed him to the wayside. I'm not a fan of that, and I wish that it had been told in a better and a more intriguing way rather than just saying, let's brush past this. I actually don't think that it's too late for Yamcha to have some interesting conversations. Like, I could see it going down where just one episode he's just talking to Bulma, or talking to Vegeta, which is less likely, or even talking to Trunks. I think that'd be interesting, and I'd be here for it. If it doesn't happen though, I wouldn't be surprised. I just look at what Yamcha could have been, and I look at how they could still use him. That baseball episode was pretty funny. I'm not gonna lie, it's one of my favorite episodes in Dragon Ball Super, so credit where credit is due. But hopefully Yamcha gets more love. Hopefully I made y'all appreciate Yamcha a little bit more. And if I did, make sure y'all leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe, join the TKK, and let's see where we can take this channel, y'all. Later.